So now that we know what the sine and the cosine law are, let's kind of combine this into one question. So consider the following triangle. Determine the value for B and C, so capital B, capital C, those are the two unknown angles, and state the perimeter of the triangle. So the sine and cosine law is all about determining which one to use. So the sine law is typically if you have kind of pairs that you're looking for. So for example, a pair would be this 105 degrees and the opposite side here. So if we knew this was, say, let's say this was 20, a pair would be this 20 and the 105 because we have an angle and a side length that are kind of opposite to each other. But notice how in this question we don't have any pairs. So the 12 would pair with the C, we don't know the C. The 105 would pair with this length, we don't know that length. The B would pair with the 15, but we don't know what B is. So that's an indication we're going to have to use the cosine law. So remember, the cosine law is when we have side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So we have a side length, we have an angle, and we have a side length, and we're using the cosine law to find this unknown side length that's opposite to our angle. Okay. So for the cosine law, we're going to say, we can call this lowercase a, I guess, right? Because it opposes uppercase a. So a squared is going to be equal to, so remember that's 12 squared plus 15 squared. So it's kind of the beginning of the Pythagorean theorem, except we have to tack on this minus 2 times 12 times 15 cosine of the angle that's opposite to the side we're looking for. So remember, the side we're looking for is A, so opposite to that is with the 105. And that's why we can use the cosine law, because the only angle we know is opposite to the side we're looking for. So remember, 12 squared plus 15 squared, that's going to be, let's see, 12 squared plus 15 squared is 369, and then we're subtracting, so 369 minus 2 times 12 times 15 times cosine of 105. Okay, so that's negative 93. So we're subtracting negative 93.2. Okay, so essentially we're just adding 93.2. So 369 plus 93.175, just to be accurate. So a squared equals 462.2. And so if we want a, it's just going to be the square root of that, which is 21.5. And this makes sense, right? Because when we subtract a negative number, we're basically saying that this a is our longest side length. Because if we were subtracting 93.2, that would mean that we're taking 369 and we're taking numbers away, so we're making it smaller, implying that a isn't larger than 12 or 15. But if a is your longest side, it's typically going to be a minus here. You're going to be subtracting a negative number. Okay, so a is 21.5. So now that we know that, I'm going to substitute that in. And then hopefully we can use the sine law, okay, to figure out our a and b, or our b and c angles. So actually, let's look at the perimeter. So remember, the perimeter of a triangle is just summing up all the outside lengths. So it's going to be 12 plus 15 plus 21.5. So 12 plus 15 is 27, plus 21.5 is going to be 48.5 units. Okay, so that's the perimeter of the triangle. We did that first part. Now let's determine B and C. So see how now we have kind of two, like one pair, and if we're trying to find B, for example, we're going to have to use this pair. So that means that the sine of B over its opposite side length, which is 15, that's going to equal the sine of 105 divided by its opposite side length, which is 21.5. We just figured that out. Okay, so to solve for sine B, we just multiply both sides by 15. So sine B is 15 sine 105 over 21.5. So 15 sine 105, we're going to take that and divide it by 21.5. So notice how this is between 0 and 1. So sine b is 0.634, or sorry, 0.674. So the sine of your angle is always going to be between 0 and 1 for these questions, unless it's greater than 90 degrees. In that case, it might be negative or positive. But so if the sine of b is 0.674, we're going to take the inverse sine of that number, and that's going to give us 42.4. So sine negative 1 of 0.674, that's going to equal b, right, which is 42.4. Okay, so 42.4, I'm going to write that out in here. So b is 42.4. 42.4. So if we know that's 42.4, we're done using our laws. Now we just have to realize that if we add up all these angles in a triangle, they're all going to add to 180. So 180 equals 105 plus 42.4 plus c, right, our last angle, we can call it just theta or whatever. So that means that c, our angle theta, is going to be 180 minus 105 minus 42.4. So that's going to be minus 105. So this is going to be 32.6. So we've solved for everything here using our sine and cosine law. In this case, it was necessary to use both. But just remember, not every question is going to make you use both. You're going to have to choose a lot of them. So sine law is if we're looking at two pairs and we're missing one component of a pair. Cosine law is when we have side, angle, side, and then we're either looking for the angle or looking for the side length opposite to that angle. So I hope this video helped, and as always, I'll see you soon.